Yes, good evening. Thank you, Ms. Sadeepa Dinali, who is from Green Building Council of Sri Lanka, who invited me to make a presentation on a special topic titled Carbon Net Zero Concept in Sri Lankan Agriculture. So it's a new concept, maybe 7 to 8 years now. Why we want to go for such kind of carbon net zero balance? Why we are worried about this climate change? Because we know that scientists has discovered a lot of causes for climate change. One is industrialization, use of energy, then consumer practices, livestock, transport, resource extraction, and pollution. So what will happen? Now, in near future, we are expecting a lot of things. At the moment, we have some evidence on rise in temperatures, rise in sea levels, and also our weather pattern is changing, unpredictable, increase in extreme weather events, land degradation, loss of wildlife and biodiversity. So what impacts of climate change on us? People have been displaced, poverty has been increased, livelihood has lost, hunger, malnutrition, increased risk of diseases, global food and water shortages are the most prominent social impacts. If we take a look, a lot of scientists have discovered trends due to climate change impacts. One is it's increasing 821 million people undernourished, another 2 million people displaced. Global oxygen level is decreasing. 883,000 internal displacement, out of which 32% from floods, 29% from droughts. Also, another 1,600 deaths due to heat waves and wildfire because of this global warming. Peatland ecosystems have been threatened. Oceans acidified. Another 35 million people affected by floods. So those are the consequences in near future we can expect. If you look at this agriculture sector, generally in Sri Lanka, 25% of total greenhouse gas emission is from agriculture. If you look at this process, burning, manure management, and addition of fertilizer, all these will contribute to evolve nitrous oxide released to the atmosphere, methane, and carbon dioxide. But if there is any kind of vegetation within the agricultural lands, then we can expect some soil carbon deposition in this. So what we want to do is to, when we are going to address this by the carbon net zero concept, our attempt is to outgoing GHGs should be minimized. At the same time, incoming C is to be promoted more and more, so that we may be able to achieve this net zero carbon. Net zero carbon, according to Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, net zero is achieved when greenhouse gases are emitted by human activities can be equal to those removed from the atmosphere within a certain period of time in a country. The concept of net zero was taken up through the fifth assessment report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. That was in 2015, and now in Sri Lanka, we have a very higher priority to see how we can achieve net zero carbon. So that the team of experts has attempted to achieve this net zero carbon. One thing we have to know that the carbon dioxide, that's about 100 years lifetime. And compared to that, the others are much more than that. For example, methane 25 times of carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide 300 times of carbon dioxide, and fluorinated gases, although it's very small, it's about 1,000 to 10,000 times the power. So that global warming potential is different from GHG, from greenhouse gases to from different greenhouse gases. And also, you can see the right side graph. There you see that carbon dioxide is the most prominent one in contributing to the climate change impact. When we look at the Sri Lankan cases, we know that about 25% of the whole greenhouse gas emission is coming from agricultural lands. If you take that 25%, rice cultivation contribute 52.4, enteric fermentation from livestock 26.6, then cultivation of organic soil, peat soils 16.1. Manure management also is contributing a considerable amount, about 4%. Burning of residues at the moment is not that much prominent. Now, when we look at the processes, most prominent one is methane release from paddy fields. Then the second one is methane from enteric fermentation, that's livestock. Then nitrous oxide from soils. Then when you take soil, the manure management, nitrous oxide and methane from manure. Then there are some indirect emissions in form of nitrous oxide. This figure shows absorption of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere also because of the vegetation. Approximately the scale of emissions by manure and indirect emission, these are almost similar. But what we have to do is to minimize the release of GHGs to the atmosphere. At the same time, we have to absorb more and more carbon dioxide to the vegetation, so that that will be a green cover continuously from agricultural lands. One thing we'll have to note that agriculture itself cannot come to that carbon net zero level, but we have different sectors like transport, energy, forestry, waste, so many sectors that will contribute to get this achievement. When you take 25% of this, out of that, paddy and organic soils will contribute 69.5. Out of that, methane is the most prominent and nitrous oxide is the second. Enteric fermentation 30.5, mostly in form of methane. So that what we have to do, we have to minimize the release of methane and nitrous oxide, but not that much carbon dioxide from agricultural lands. We fixed first baseline scenario. The curves were fixed considering gross domestic product and population change as baseline scenario. If you are not going to do anything about this, then we can have this kind of trends. And you can observe here two exceptional lowering emissions in 2014 and 2016. That is something abnormal. It's because of the El Nino effect prevailed in Sri Lanka. All other urea application here and manure management here, those are relatively lower compared to nitrogen direct and indirect emission, rice cultivation methane, and methane from enteric fermentation. So our interest is to address these three cases. Then we have set some targets up to 2050. Then we found that total GHG emission can be reduced by 1,994,000 metric tons carbon dioxide equivalent. So this is the maximum possible one. If you go to that, I think that will be the most successful achievement that we can have in future. And also we tested two different scenarios. One is that, national determined contribution to 2030 report says that 2030 is the target that they have. And our scenario, we have set to 2050, extending the curve so that we could be able to achieve 30% reduction. Then the next one is the improved version, because we thought that 30% reduction of GHG is not enough. Improved version is especially livestock sector, all cattle population and goat and sheep populations were included. At the same time, additional to NDC 2030, we have included to remove paddy straw from all types of paddy fields. This improvement could further reduce GHG emission down to 61%. That is the maximum possible that we can achieve from agriculture sector. This is the graph that we saw. This is the baseline. And compared to baseline, we can reduce 30% from NDC 2030 extended to 2050. Then if we adapt improved scenario, as we discussed the last slide, it could achieve about 60-61%. We identified different strategies to reduce GHG emission. One is that we can reduce methane emission from paddy fields by removing rice straws. We can really discuss about that further, how we can remove. In some countries, they have removed these paddy fields, paddy straws. Then they have used rice straws for different purposes, like paper making and some other manufacturing purposes. Second one is that we thought use of alternative chemical fertilizer for reducing nitrous oxide emission instead of using urea, especially urea. Then the third one, reduce methane emission from livestock by improving feed quality and animal comfort. This is another one. We really extracted partially from NDC 2030 and improve that. Then reduce nitrous oxide emission in soils due to microbial activities. All these four will reduce the emission of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere from our agricultural lands. Then the other side, how to increase carbon sequestration from agricultural lands. One, we introduce evergreen agro-ecosystem concept. That means in our agricultural lands, we have fallow periods. It doesn't make much contribution to carbon sequestration. So what we have to do is to keep the lands evergreen using some green hedges, fences, live fences, etc. And also there are some other strategies to increase carbon sequestration. Especially one is land management practices in agricultural lands and improve crop management practices in tea plantations. Now here I want to tell you that if you say agriculture, we confine our whole study to tea plantation, rain-fed agriculture, paddy, etc. But not for rubber and coconut, because those belong to the forestry sector, trees outside the forest. So that we have divided into two. Then reduction by strategy. We can see that by 2050, we can reduce GHG emission from direct and indirect nitrous oxide, then livestock. And also we found that urea import reduction has not that much affected, although we thought that it's a significant contribution to reduction of GHG emission. Then the paddy lands. So we have different strategies. One is reduce methane emission from paddy lands by removing rice straws and through good management practices. So it's really not only one, like removing of rice straws, but also a lot of good management practices. In reality, these good management practices include a lot of technologies which are in existence at the moment, which are being practiced by farmers in different countries too. And here you can see some, especially gap we have to promote. Then post-harvest losses we have to reduce to minimize GHG emission. Like that, you have many other things. Like, for example, now we have introduced to paddy fields alternative wet-in and dry. Then biochar. Then sometime we have to do the sustainable farming practices with some subsidies from the government. That is one of these policy initiatives we can do. Then the other one is that, you know, in Mahaveli schemes, sometimes the drainage classes are not much recognized when we are using for these lands for paddy cultivation. They have used even well drained, imperfectly drained, and poorly drained. Generally under minor tanks and other more paddy fields are poorly drained. So what we suggest that's a very good idea to go for some upland areas with paddy, which will not much contribute this methane contribution to the atmosphere. Then good management practices of soil and water management, those are adopted at the moment. Then strategy 2, chemical fertilizer. Instead of chemical fertilizer, we can go for organic fertilizers. And also, if we can use this fertilizer at very accurate levels by having some testing facilities, then Department of Agriculture has already introduced state fertilizer method, so that it will do something about reduction of chemicals. Then we can use nitrogen releasing fertilizers. Then reduction of frequency of application of nitrogen fertilizer. Early recommendation is to split, but now we can see farmers are using very high dose of fertilizer. To avoid that, we have to do some soil testing and do as possible as we can increase the frequency of application. Then like that, plant requirements should be met by the correct amount of fertilizer. Then just to avoid the wastage of fertilizer, we can put it into the plant roots directly. And we can adapt integrated plant nutrition system. And now climate smart agriculture is also now is in progress, so that we can adapt all these to reduce nitrous oxide from agricultural lands. And here methane emission from livestock. Here we can use livestock feeding with very high quality and low fiber content, which will take very short time to digest. Then use of total mix ratio improves productivity and reduce methane emissions. And also in some cases, when we have this animal rearing areas, we have to provide heat stress management. We'll have to make them more comfortable and lower the temperature. So that the other one is we can use a lot of this animal feed with good quality, which are enhancing the speed of digestion. Then manure management in soils. Measures to reduce livestock urinary nitrogen, and also from livestock manure, using manure to capture and use methane on farm, so that we can use as a biogas within the farm, and it will be economically viable, another venture. And also we can crop residue management also we can do in these agricultural fields to reduce nitrous oxide emission. What we want to do is to allow microbial activities as minimum as we can when we are dealing with this crop residue management and management of organic soils. Then carbon sequestration from paddy fields and rain-fed uplands. We use evergreen agro-ecosystem concept. It's a new one. It's not new technology, but the concept is new, so that we have keep the paddy field evergreen, reducing the fallow period. Then cultivation of crops leaving zero fallow period of the land. And also we can have different crops, seasonal, semi-perennial, and perennial crops, ensuring the green cover around the year. Then we can use some leguminous nitrogen providing plants like Glycidia, Adathoda, Erythrina, Thespecia, etc. as hedges, so that paddy fields are full of such hedges wherever possible, and it
Hello, sir.
okay. Now can you hear me?
Yeah, okay now.
Right, good. These are the composition that we have, especially Gasidia, Ardatoda, and Citronella will provide a very good mixture of main fertilizer to the soil. At the same
video is
time,
not seen now.
sorry?
The video is not visible.
Okay, right. I think that's okay now, right?
Yeah, but go all right now good.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yeah, that's fine now.
Okay. Now we have been talking about nutrient composition of green manure plants. Especially we introduced Gasidia, Ardatoda, and Citronella as a green hedge, but others can also use this wild sunflower and erythrina. Erythrina we are not using because pruning ability is a bit poor. Wild sunflower farmers are reluctant to use. Because of that, we selected Gasidia, Ardatoda, and Citronella. Those are the research findings we got from now it has been recommended we can have these green hedges to increase the carbon sequestration from agricultural lands. Then the sixth one, improve land management strategies to enhance carbon stock in the soil. You can reduce fallow period, minimize tillage operations without disturbing much, restore degraded lands, improving pasture management, crop residue management. Those are not this new technology, but we are not using. Add animal manures to the soil. And also convert marginal cropland to perennial grass or agroforestry systems. That has been tested and for last 15, 20 years, but farmers are not that much interested to follow it up. Rotational grazing and shelter belts, then we can restore wetlands also. And the seventh one is improve crop management practices, especially it will include ecosystem approach for tea lands, crop diversification in tea lands, intercropping in some poorly yielding tea lands, then introduction of shade trees in some places we cannot see that with optimum density, and also there are old tea lands which has to be rehabilitated very soon. also you can find this mid-country, low-country, and up-country, and Uva province, carbon sequestration, we can achieve this much of kilotons per year. Then home gardens. We divided into three, dry zone, intermediate, and wet zone. And one of these research findings was that that was done in 2013. We have maximum, minimum, and mean. What we try to do is to raise this minimum vegetative home gardens to mean at the beginning. Then all these mean values will be increased to maximum. So that is the strategy that we have used, and we found this can be increased. Wet zone home gardens, dry zone home gardens, and intermediate zone home gardens by 2050. And it's about 267% increase by the year 2050 through home garden intensification. That's another strategy to increase carbon sequestration from agricultural lands. So this is the last summary of this, not only agriculture, forestry, industry, and transport, energy, waste, everything. And you can see that the black line, it will be there in 2038. We can achieve the carbon net zero. And finally, you will find some plus points here by 2050 that we go for carbon trading. So I can summarize now because of the time also. Yes. So one is that we found main GHGs from agricultural lands are methane and nitrous oxide, but not carbon dioxide. Then GHG emission can be reduced by 60% by 2050. Removal of rice straws, use alternatives to chemical fertilizer. Then methane reduction from livestock. Then in some soils, we can see that nitrous oxide is released to the atmosphere that can be reduced. Then enhance carbon sequestration in paddy and rain-fed uplands through evergreen agroecosystem concept. And also, carbon stock in agricultural lands can be enhanced by improving land management practices. Carbon sequestration in tea lands can be increased through agroecosystem approach, crop diversification, intercropping, introduction of shade trees with optimum density, and rehabilitation of all tea lands. So we found that in case of home gardens, it can be increased by 267% by the year 2050 by intensifying the vegetation of the home garden. Finally, we found that if the proposed mitigation actions are implemented, the country will be able to achieve net zero by 2038. So it's a good achievement, but we should not be that much enthusiastic because sometimes the adoption rate is low. We found that even in agricultural sector, extension efficiency is about 61%. So that we have to, we may have to continue this one up to 2050. Okay, thank you very much. And I think it's time to make a clarification if there is anything or any questions, any burning questions that you have. Now it's time for you to come up with those clarifications and questions. Okay, thank you very much.
Sir, there is a question on the chat box. Can you see
Yes,
it?
can.
Please explain the best CO2 fixing plantation crop in Sri Lanka?
Plantation crops. It's not plantation crop, but some legumes. When you take tea, rubber, and coconut, those are plantation crops. You know that the fourth one, we have tea, first one, then coconut, second one, rubber, third one. Fourth one they have declared in 2005. That is Glacidia. That is the leguminous crop, not others.
Professor Dharmasena, can I say something?
Yes, I am just having a difficulty of getting into your part. Okay. Stop share. Now it's okay, right? Please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. And I'm glad that you are on the same wavelength as me. Particularly, I was very pleased to hear you say that Glycidia was made the fourth plantation crop, but it was limited to just a declaration only. Nothing was done. The important thing I want to bring out is, you see, there's another aspect you must remember, particularly when you are talking about Glycidia. It will do all the things that you have proposed that it should do, but adaptation or use of Glycidia can be prompted very much by using it as an energy crop, because then you get immediate cash. You see, after a 7-year period of blockage by the CEB, now Dendro Energy is back online. We are permitted to do it now. So that is the means by which it can be promoted, so that people will do it, because you get immediate cash benefits also. But the value of the Glycidia trees, as I don't have to tell you, is in the leaves much more than in the stick. But the stick is the one that will generate the cash immediately, which will encourage people to grow. So this is what we need to encourage and propagate. Unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, everything is done in different silos. Energy people don't know about agriculture. And agriculture people don't know that how much contribution that they can make to the energy. You see, we are talking about energies which are not firm, but the firm energy is being ignored. So that's what I want to bring out, Dr. Dharmasena, because what you brought out is very, very important. And you can tick all the boxes as we are done using Glycidia, both in the mitigation as well as in the sequestration area. And also to answer that question somebody asked, I think Glycidia is the one that you should promote as sequestration, because it has many other benefits too. So my request to you and all the participants here is, appreciate the value that we can gain in multiple ways, both in as a fodder, as a fertilizer, as well as for the fuel. So if we can get this idea across much wider, particularly to the farmers, that is worthwhile for them to grow Glycidia, because they'll get immediate cash benefits also. That's the point I want to make. And thank you very much again. I really would be grateful if you could share your presentation with all of us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Parakama Jayasinghe. I can, it's familiar name for me, because when we were having this exercise, you have given some comments there. And to answer the question, I think you have given the answer, because Glycidia is a multi-purpose tree. And we have done about 15 years at Mahiluppallama, all these aspects of Glycidia. And we found that pruning ability, and also the biomass and nitrogen fixing ability, and also, unfortunately, we have not gone for this energy part. And thank you very much for that for taking up that at this moment. Thank you, Dr. Jai Singh. Miss Dinali, can we share this?
Yeah,
presentation?
sure. I will share the presentation for them.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, please.
It's a lovely presentation, Doctor.
Yes, thank you.
Actually, especially when you look at the Glydiceria, as you said, now plantation ministry with ethical tea partnership, an organization, Vanaropa, is doing a roadmap for Sri Lankan tea industry. We are trying to look at least to meet 25 to 30% of the biomass requirement through Glydiceria. So as you said, if you plant Glydiceria, there will be multiple benefits to enhance the soil fertility and reduction of soil fertilizer. So it's very well presented by you. I think the authorities should take care of these sort of brilliant ideas in order to improve the land productivity and address the crop productivity of our country. As you suggested, it will be fine if you can kindly share your presentation and your contact details as well. Thank you so much for doing this wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much. And I just want to lace the comment given by Dr. Jai Singh regarding Glydiceria. And in 2005, they have declared that the fourth plantation crop is Glydiceria, but nothing happened. That's true. That's true. But now is the time to initiate that, making some kind of organization only for Glydiceria and do everything, whatever possible, because Glydiceria is the plant spreading everywhere in our island. So that nothing to worry about that. At the same time, I ensure that the diseases are very, very minimum. So that no need to worry about that, except when you prune it, there can be during dry season, you will get with some dieback disease. That's only that will not make a lot of damages to the tree population. So thank you very much for both to bring up this Glydiceria case. Thank you. Denali, I didn't see any other comments from chat box.
Yeah, Doctor, thank you very much for your presentation. And, since you emphasize on Glydiceria, as Yajit Silva also talked about that, it is not, just to add another one thing, it is not only for soil rehabilitation and as a leguminous, but also to find alternative sources for fuel wood. Now the jungle firewood is being cut and supplied to the tea factories at a rate, and there'll be a day that when it comes to a zero, the tea industry will run short of firewood. Also, that is the day that the jungle firewoods or jungle trees are also cut and finished, and we are heading into a disaster. So the Vanaropa, Mr. Priya Gunawardana, Yajit De Silva, and and Mr. Nimal Pereira.
Yes.
They are representing Vanaropa organization in collaboration with the ministry. Have already started doing pilot projects in few places in the tea industry, and so that will find alternative sources for firewood supply, as well as to enhance the productivity and soil rehabilitation of the tea lands of tea smallholders, especially, and the regional plantation companies. So this is, and it is very encouraging to hear that as the fourth crop, Glydiceria has been identified, and definitely this project will take off. Once this project will take off, it will address this. It will support the zero carbon concept as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your great contribution to this today discussion.
Yeah.
Yes.
Professor, can I add something more, please, if you don't mind?
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm involved in the tea sector, so this is something I have been very much working with the energy part. And you
Yes.
quite rightly said, very few estates have grown GC at the required or the recommended level, and they are in desperate trouble for fuel. You know, as the gentleman spoke, they are very much so. Actually, if they go at least up to the level of recommended coverage with Grisidia, and also make use of the sort of unproductive lands, then they can be independent of their fuel wood supply or the major estate sector. But also the other message we must give to the smallholders, they could be the suppliers of not only the green leaves, but the fuel for the processing of the green leaves too. Now, these ideas are not being promoted adequately by the people who have the access to those people. But I'm wondering whether this your organization could also promote this one without waiting for the government to do things. You see, whether we can get the message across to the people who can make direct use of it. You see, because right now, like I said, there'll be a very much growing demand for Grisidia as a fuel wood because the door has been opened for development of the bioenergy again. You see, so there are a number of projects that are coming up. They'll be desperately in need of suppliers all over the place, all over the country. So that's an opportunity that must be made known to the people. Unfortunately, like I said, the energy sector and agriculture sectors are in two different worlds. So we need to build a bridge somehow there to make sure that we do have the resources to meet. No, like I said, if you use bioenergy for power, then there's a huge reduction in the carbon emission also by eliminating that amount of fossil fuel. So you have a double advantage of for both for the agriculture sector as well as for the energy sector. So we are looking forward for our bioenergy association, looking forward very much whatever support we can get to propagate the idea to the farmers. So start growing. They won't lose anything. You see, they can start growing now and it will be ready in 2 years to give you the fuel wood. And during that time, there'll be a number of projects coming up. So you'll have a ready market and a very good price also now. That's the message that must go across. So we need many, many people to be talking about it. Like now for 2005 up to now, it has completely forgotten now the fourth plantation crop. Nobody talks about it. So forget that declaration. Just target on what is possible, what is the benefit that we can get. You see, that's the message we must go, and what I'm appealing to whatever organization connected with your linkages to pass on the message. Now, Professor produced a huge amount of data here, you see, and simple terms that can be shown. So, and what I'm saying is you can add that financial benefit through fuel wood to that list, rather than the addition to the fertility and all that, because that monetary wise, that's a very significant thing that's available immediately. You put the fertilizer, you wait for the crop to come, you know, that is down the road. But fuel wood money start flowing immediately. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Jai
Professor.
Singh. Yes, please.
Professor, though the time is constrained, actually, we would like to get your valuable inputs to this project the plantation ministry is doing. So we will keep in touch with you. I think there's so much of scope on this arena. So again and again, I must thank you for this lovely presentation.
Thank you very much. Just before we finish this one, I just want to tell you that during last 10-15 years, we have done a lot of things, lot of concepts came up with Grisidia, and it was not materialized. That is the problem. Now the time has come to think about again and again, because now it is really a needed effort from all these sectors. Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
So there is one question in the chat box. Can feed quality improvements reduce significant amount of methane from cattle grazing? Are there any known modern technologies to reduce it more?
Again, please tell me.
Can feed quality improvements reduce significant amount of methane from cattle grazing? Are there any non-modern technologies to reduce it more?
Yes, now this is the matter of digestion. If it takes long time, you will get more and more methane. Now, when you have quick digestion from quality feed, then you will not get that much. And also, just I want to add something more. Because of this foreign species, foreign varieties, and they need more and more digestion time, and they will emit methane, not like local. Local will not do that much. So that some people encourage to go for more local cattle, rather depending upon this imported one. Did I get the correct track for this question? Denali?
From what I know, Professor, Girisedia, they don't want to feed only Girisedia to cattle. Goats can handle it completely. But Girisedia, you are supposed to use 50% Girisedia and 50% straw or something, because that.
They say that 10 to 15%.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Please go ahead.
I think there is no questions on the chat box, but you can ask if you have any questions. Unmute your mics and ask. Please ask.
Doctor, what about the palm oil, which has a very large leaf area index to fix nitrogen, carbon dioxide, like in other plantation forestry crops? Will you be able to explain that, please?
Palm trees we have introduced even in 1970s, but you know what happened, that it has not come up. We'll have to find reasons before we promote again. We have to find reasons for that. I think it's a good potential crop as far as I understand.
Professor, thank you so much for your presentation. It's really nice. And I have one question that can you suggest some persons or institution or non-governmental organization for to get more information about Gilseria and its importance and the economic value of that? Is there an institution for that? Thank you.
You could contact us, the Bioenergy Association. We have a fair amount of data accumulated over many, many years, starting from Dr. Revi Jawardena. We'll be happy to share them. Our email is
again. Sorry, yeah, contact details.
Yeah. Parak Rajasingh, 0777 26 9970. I'll put it on the chat box.
Okay, thank you very much. I will call you.
So Denali, can we
Yeah.
stop now?
Yeah, I think it's time to wind up our session. So thank you very much, sir, conducting a highly inspiring lecture and taking time from your busy schedule to be the resource person today's Green Talk and sharing your valuable knowledge and experience for us. As well as thank you for being a great audience today. Before the conclude the session, we have some notification to make you. So please give me a few minutes. Green Building Council of Sri Lanka offers comprehensive courses and training programs to train industry professionals from for green accreditation. So this is our associate professional training program. This is the first step to become our green accredited professional. So now you can apply for the associate professional training program batch 44. The registration is extended until 10th of July, and the program will be commenced on 15th of July. And this is the second step for become a green accredited professional. The advanced, this is our advanced professional training program. The intake gate is open to apply now. Now only 10 seats are left. So I invite to our GBCSL associate professionals to apply very soon. And we have planned to conduct intensive course on sustainable water management in building on 10, 11, 12, and 13th July. It is fully online course, and the course will be held at 7 p.m. onwards. It's evening sessions. We have given offer for undergraduate students, so you can apply for that. And this is regarding our next webinar. I invite you all to participate this one also. It will be a surely interesting one as today one. So you can contact us. Our email address is education.gbcsl@gmail.com, events.gbcsl@gmail.com, and our contact number 01126791130. You can visit our website and know more information about our courses, training programs, and certification like that. So thank you all again, and thank you very much, sir. Stay tuned now with our upcoming events, and good night all.
Good
Thank
night.
you.